I'm going to be looking at in this one. Overall, it's not that great of a slate, but it's a 4-gamer. There's a couple close games, a couple one-sided games, so we can talk about that stuff as we go on. Again, nothing to like really recap. There was a slate yesterday, but I never made like content about it. I did tweet picks, so we can kind of talk about that. This one. I guess I should have pulled up my tweet about the picks, but all right. So we can talk quickly. The first one, Entropic Renegades. This was extremely one-sided odds-wise. I believe Entropic was like minus 3 something, 350 maybe. It made sense. Entropic got the job done 2-0. Pretty one-sided. Entropic is a very, very strong team. And Renegades just don't have the talent, really. It's just tough to garner that skill from the Oceanic region. It's just tough when, like, they are in Europe boot camping and trying to get better in Europe now. So I do respect that pretty heavily, but it'll take some time to kind of like iron sharpens iron sort of thing, where it's just tough. Like the Renegades players, like there's like 2 good Oceanic teams. They just kind of stomp everyone else so hard it's not even close. But now Renegades are over in Europe, so that's good for them. And hopefully they continue to stay there and grow. I'm not sure what their bootcamp schedule looks like, but hopefully they're there for a while and can benefit from it. Again, this is just a super tough matchup. And Entropic is like a top 10, top 15-ish team, maybe top 20. I'm not sure. I don't have like rankings really set out, but as far as that goes, that's what I'm thinking. So pretty good for them. They got the job done 2-0. Again, looking on the players I liked, Elian, Forrester, Nickelback. It kind of ended up being Elian, Crad, and Lackey. It was all when these super one-sided matchups happen. It's kind of understandable that the lower end players get there, like with Crad and Lackey, but that's just some of the randomness that comes with it. I ended up playing 2 players from this game. I liked Nickelback and Elian the most. Nickelback actually just has like a lot of upside. He has like the most 4Ks and 5Ks of anybody on this team, despite his KD not being fantastic. So that's what I liked. But yeah, they got the job done 2-0. I had them 2-0. Not exactly a bold pick. MIBR Movistar Riders. I had Movistar Riders 2-0. The players I liked were Alex and Sun Payas. Sampayas did get there, but again, Alex, not that great of a game. It was end up being Mopaz. Although MIBR is a team that I do like a little bit. It just seems like their initial run of I forget what event they played in. It was Blast. It seems like their kind of run at Blast kind of overinflated their skill and market value overall. I still think they're not that good. I think they're going to be like a top contending team in the North America / South America region. I guess they're more split up now. But in the Americas, I think they're a good team. And I think Movistar Riders are just a super solid European team. And it was going to be a tough test for them. This one was actually priced pretty closely, surprisingly. I think Movistar was like minus 170, and I had them with the 2-0. They got the job done. 2 pretty good maps. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think I'm going to be pretty bullish on this MIBR team as we go forward, just because I feel like they're pretty overrated because they had like a good run. And that's something we saw with Copenhagen Flames a while ago. They had one good run at a major, and everyone had it in their mind that they were just like a really good team, and they just quite weren't keeping that level up. It looks like Copenhagen Flames are starting to regain that form actually, but it's the CSGO as a whole is so trendy and so day to day, and like their slumps are up and down. Like it just feels like you have to kind of see these things as they're going on. Like things are so day to day, but I just feel like MIB are kind of on the downtrend, and I want to be on the other side of them most typically. The next one was Fnatic Big. I had Big 2-1, but I knew this was going to be a super close game. The only players I liked were Smuya and Searson. It was Fnatic getting there in the end, and it was Searson. This was Searson one-off was how I approached this series, just because I thought it would be super close. And we got there perfectly, I think, in this series. The only person I touched at all was Searson. He was the pretty much only good performer, really. Smuya really let Fnatic down despite them winning. So Fnatic's a team that I'm not. It just seems super overpriced on DraftKings generally. Big is pretty underpriced, it feels like, for some reason. Searson's like their third price player. I'm just not sure why, but this is a series I was not high on at all, and it kind of turned out exactly as expected. So that's something we do like to see. It was nice to see Brawlhand getting back into form. I feel like Brawlhand is going to be an important piece for this team if they want to continue to win and contend. And then Ents Godsent, I had Ents 2-0. I thought they were just similar to the MIBR series. I just feel like the Godsent, like how high they were flying was just a little too high compared to, I think, their actual skill level. As you can see, like they had the super close Ancient win, but they got kind of blown on the first map, and then the third map was a little close. The score seemed a little misleading. It was just a solid first half, and then the second half was all Ents. So pretty good stuff from the Ents side. I love the Ents players. I don't know what it is about these mixed teams, but they just seem to grab my heart. These teams like Ents and OG, they just take they just seem to be like I don't know how to word it other than like a foster home of good players, maybe that just don't have a good spot to go to. Like Spinks being from Israel, like it's super hard to get a full Israeli team that's going to compete at this level. The same for Madden from Montenegro. There are solid Polish players, but it's hard to make a whole roster at this level with it. So, making these European mixed teams is something I really like. I'm not sure why. Spinks is a player I've loved for a while. People know, if you guys know my history and my past with Spinks, you guys know that I've been a defender of him for a long time, and it's good for him to finally get going and get that recognition. So good for them. It was a little bit closer than I thought, but the picks stayed the same. So, we're getting a solid beginning read on this tournament, and we can hopefully use that to look forward to tomorrow. So tomorrow the matches are here, the Vitality Mouse. I want to quickly kind of run through these. That way you guys can make your decisions as well. But I think the first two games, they're at 7:45 for me, but I guess that'd be 9:45 a.m. For East Coast, 6:45 a.m. West Coast. This series just seems pretty one-sided. Like, if you guys know me, you guys know I'm normally pretty against playing Vitality as a whole. I just feel like they're so over-owned compared to expectation and upside, and like it just seems like all the leverage or like all the good things that we look for for DraftKings is against Vitality. But it's going to be tough to get away from them here. Like, they're pretty reasonably priced. They're super big favorites, and it just seems Mouse are pretty outclassed individually here. The Mouse team is just having I believe they're just having like COVID things running rampant, and also they're just like promoting their like academy players, and they're just not ready for this level yet. Although I am pretty high on Mouse overall. We'll probably look to Mouse in some other spots, but Vitality is just way too good. They're probably like a top 3, top 5 team, and I don't think these Mouse players are ready for that yet. I think players like Frozen, Torzi, JDC, these are super solid individually skilled players. Dexter is the in-game leader, so his skill isn't necessarily needed, but like I just don't know what MBK brings necessarily, and I just don't think Torzi and JDC, who are going to be important players going forward, I just don't know if they are quite ready for that yet. So I'll probably just have to go with the Vitality side 2-0. We know their stats are going to be pretty apparent. It's going to be Zywoo, and then it's going to be everyone else. We see Dupree's actually been picking it up pretty well. Magic is towards the bottom. I like playing Apex when they're pretty one-sided matchups. He is not priced very well. I think he's a little expensive, but I think Apex is fine as the last piece. But it's definitely going to be Zywoo, Dupree. I don't even hate getting down to Masuta. He's pretty low priced. It's just going to be kind of tough to get away from that. I should have had this prepared, but it is what it is. We have the odds here for this series. Vitality minus 325. That sounds about right to me. Yeah, it's just hard to make a case really for Mouse. I just think it's a step up for Mouse, and they're just not ready for it yet. And I'm leaning towards the Vitality 2-0. Obviously, everyone's going to be on Zywoo. It's going to be tough to get away from him. But I think there is like a real case to be made for going with like a Dupree Apex maybe and leaving off Zywoo. Like you're instantly unique that way. But for me personally, I'm a single entry player. Like I'll just eat the chalk on Zywoo. It is what it is. His stats are too good to ignore, despite me saying how much I don't want to play him. But that's all there is really for that one, I think. The other early series is Gambit versus NIP. Again, as you guys can see the odds, Gambit minus 275. NIP was a team I had wrong in Blast in their earlier series this year. But I feel like they're going to kind of, I don't want to say crumble. That seems a little harsh. But I think they're going to maybe fall down to earth a little bit here. Like I feel like their results of they beat Big twice, they beat Na'Vi, they had competitive series with OG, G2, like they played it super highly compared to their expectations, or at least my expectations. And I feel like they're kind of falling back down to earth here a little bit. I just feel like they don't have the individual skill like to compete here really. Like their team kill death ratio is super low. Like they play super well fundamentally. Like they're gonna beat lower end teams pretty consistently because of how fundamentally well that they play. I just don't like them and their upside really, and I think that this is a great spot for this Gambit team. They haven't played anyone yet so far, but I mean they've stomped everyone. The losses to Complexity and Tropic aren't great, but I mean their map count is still 8-2 against lower end competition. Although this is a step up for them, I don't think they're still like the second best team. I think like they're guaranteed top 5 at least. They're in the conversation. It'll probably be like in no order, like Na'Vi, Vitality, Gambit, and G2. Those are probably like the top 4 teams, like the ones to beat at the moment. And I just feel like NIP, although they've been performing well, I think they're going to probably come back down to earth here. And the Gambit guys, they're pretty expensive, but I think this is actually still like a super good spot for them. Axel seems a little underpriced, so I think he'll be pretty popular. But I think they should get the 2-0. This team typically scores pretty well from a DraftKings standpoint, and I think compounded on that, NIP give up decent scores, as you guys saw earlier. Their team kill death ratio is pretty low, so I think this is a great spot for Gambit. This is probably my favorite team on the slate, although they are expensive, heavy favorites, and probably going to be chalky, but I think we can afford to play it because I do like some underdogs coming up. Spoiler alert, I guess this cat's out of the bag now. The first one is FaZe Team Liquid, and the other one is Astralis Furia. I like the Liquid and Furia side in these, and I will explain why here. So the first one is Team Liquid FaZe. Although I am pretty high on this FaZe roster, they're going to lose arguably their best player, Rops. He is out for COVID. Rops played for them in Blast, and they did pretty well. They ended up beating Mouse in a close series, and they beat Sprout here. Like these are just not great results. It's going to be tough for them with JKS instead of Rops. He's a solid filler player. Like they're still going to be a solid team. They're going to beat lower end teams as well. They're going to be a team I look forward to in the future in this tournament as well. But I think this spot is just not the right spot for them. And I just feel like Team Liquid, I just feel like they're kind of underrated still. Like maybe I'm just wrong. I'm crazy. Those things aren't necessarily crazy either. Like I picked Liquid against this head-to-head isn't going to be great for Liquid. As you guys can see, Liquid lost to FaZe twice earlier in Blast, but I still think this Team Liquid team needs a lot of time to adjust. Shox is coming over from Vitality, so he's moving from a French team to an American team. OC is coming up from tier 2 up to tier 1, so it's going to take some adjustment for him to kind of get his bearings and improve at the highest level. We know Naf and Elige are bona fide great players. I think they were both top 20 in the world last year. If they aren't, then they were close. And then Nitro is coming back over from Valorant still. So I think it'll just take a little bit of time for them to find their footing as a whole. But I think this is a team that I have super high expectations of in the near future maybe. And it just seems like my expectation, at least for this Team Liquid team, is kind of upward trajectory, and this FaZe team is kind of a little bit of a downward trajectory just because they have JKS instead of Rops. Rops was their best player at Blast, and they're kind of needing a lot from Rain and JKS, and I don't know. I think this is a decent spot kind of for both sides, really, but I just feel like TL are probably just a little bit underpriced, and I like them going forward more. So we could see sorry, I got tangled in my thoughts there. The kill share, the kill density on Team Liquid is super strong. Like if they win, it's going to be through Naf, Elige, and maybe OC. Although OC hasn't been great so far. Like Shox and Nitro have not been good so far for them. I think maybe they'll pick it up a little bit and the series will be closer overall. But it feels like if Team Liquid get the job done and win, then it'll be through Naf and Elige mainly, and they're pretty cheap on DraftKings, so that's why I'm leaning as well. And then the final series is the Furia Astralis one. So there's been a lot of talk on this Astralis team. They've not looked good at all for a while. So we can kind of briefly talk about that. So we look at this particular roster. They're 21 and 25 all time. Let's look up. That would be the past 3 months. So they had a decent performance here at Blast. And this is kind of where everyone kind of got their idea of this team was from this Blast premiere in November. But it's been noted on, I believe on Reddit and maybe some other sources and stuff, but Config's performance from this Blast tournament here, we can maybe look at that just so I can show it. So Config last 3 months, we can look at look here on Blast Premier Fall, he had a 1.27. He was their best player. And this is 13 maps. That's a good amount of data. So he had a really solid tournament, arguably one of the best players of the whole tournament at 1.27. He's performing great. And then you look at his stats overall from the rest of the events, he just fell off the face of the earth. His HLTV rating went from a 1.25 to a 0.7, 0.9, 0.9, 0.8. His kills per round fell off a cliff. He went from a 0.89 to a 0.5, 0.6, 0.5, 0.6. This is 4 maps. This is just this is just one day. This is yesterday, so I'm not gonna break that down too much. But the point still stands that they just have not been good, and they've just been losing a lot. They're playing top competition. There's no arguing that. But it's just kind of tough to get behind them. And so the thing with this Furia team is I'm not a big fan of them either. Safi seems to be pretty overrated overall. These are some tough losses. They got kind of stomped by Virtus Pro. They dropped a map to 9Z. These are decent wins with Heat and Order, but I just feel like they're kind of overrated as well. This is a tough series to kind of get behind as a whole, just because on one side you have Blame F. He's so good, but everyone else is so bad. What's Blame F's price? So he's 9K. That's a fine price for him. But as you could see, like the players just haven't been there for Furia. I feel like art is a pretty significant problem on this team, but I don't, like like who do you replace him with? And it just feels like the core of Art, Yuri, and Queserado are so stuck together that it's kind of tough for them to get there. I just feel like the upside and more specifically the pricing with Furia is just extremely off. Like Queserado 7K, Yuri 4.8. Then on the Astrala side, Blame F is like the only one that you really want to get a piece of at all. So like it's hard to make a case like, oh, Furia should win this because like they don't have much. Like these are they're beating like pretty low end teams here in Heat, Order, and 9Z, and even the 9Z team like games. These are pretty close wins. Like those aren't inspiring at all. Like it's definitely feels like Astralis are definitely the better team, but when it comes down to like DK pricing and upside, we know this Furia team has like relatively good kill death ratios most of the time, and the same can't be said for the Astralis side. So this is like one of those rare cases where I don't necessarily know if Furia win, but I feel like the pricing is there. They have a good kill share. Like it should be pretty condensed on Queserato, Yuri, and then maybe Safi. I'm not sure where Safi will fall into this. I expect Furia to be relatively popular, but I don't know. Like it just feels like it's a good enough underdog spot to ride with Furia. And in my history, at least with CSGO information, and it feels like most of the time the spot you just want to go with the decent spots with the good kill shares and kind of hope for the best rather than going with who you think is going to win necessarily. And I just feel like the DFS arrows point towards the Furia side, so that's where I'm going to be. I forgot the saying that I'm looking for, but that's where I'm going to be hanging my hat, I guess, is the Furia side. Although if you have the money or want to get to the Astralis side, Blame F definitely has some good upside. And maybe Blame F will be kind of the forgotten man because we have Shiro and Zaiwu above him. Actually, I don't know. The more I talk about it and the more I think about it, I might end up going with the Blame F side. The funny thing is, I think there's like a serious case to go with Yuri and Blame F. Like Yuri is way too cheap regardless. Queserado is as well. Queserado was a top 20 player last year, so he's definitely an elite caliber player, and he seems underpriced overall. Yuri is not that far behind him. I think he was probably just outside the top 20. If not, he's like top 25, top 30. Yuri is. So I don't know. Just like if Furia win, their scores are going to be so good and they're so cheap that it's kind of tough to ignore. But I just have this feeling that Astralis are going to win, and I don't know if Furia are quite that good. So that's my tough one. Like I don't know if we have enough savings anywhere else because I like Gambit a lot. I think, like I said earlier, they have great numbers here. Although I do like Team Liquid, their underdogs they're not that cheap really here with like Naf and Elige. Like they're pretty good. They're pretty okay priced. So I don't know. It's just tough to like try to get to some, like if you want to play Shiro, Zaiwu, and Blame F. Let's see who is like a cheap captain here. We could go with like Elige, Naf. That gives you 5,600 only. Like I don't want to play really anyone from this range. Maybe you want to go to Yuri. Like I feel like that's fine. Maybe like a cat. That seems super safe and like cash friendly. Playing like all three of the best players, arguably, with Shiro, Zaiwu, and Blame F. I don't know. It's not a super easy slate. Slates rarely are, but there's not a lot of spots that I'm like, man, that seemed like a great spot. but I feel pretty confident going with the Vitality side. I don't love it, but it seems necessary. Um, I like Gambit a lot. This is probably my heaviest spot here. I'm probably gonna. I might end up doing something like Axel Shiro Hobbit, like just getting started this way, and then I don't know how much it leaves me. 67. I don't know. I'll have to build later, but I like Team Liquid a little bit. They seem to be like a solid underdog option. I like Gambit. They seem to be like a great spend up option. Vitality seem fine. Kind of necessary, but don't love it. And then Furia Astralis. This one is gonna be tough because, like I said, it's just like all the DFS angles point towards Keserato, point towards Yuri. They're such individually skilled players. They're so cheap, and it enables you to get the other superstars. But like if Blame F does well, he could be the like forgotten man up in the 9Ks. Like everyone's gonna want Shiro and Zaiwu. Like I don't know if anybody gets to Blame F, and his stats are super great as well. You know what? I'll just make the decision now on video. That way I can be consistent. I'm gonna swap off the Furia side. I'm gonna go with the Astralis. So my sole underdog is just gonna be Team Liquid. I'm not necessarily Xing out these Furia players. Like I think Yuri is still super playable at this price. Let's see. Yeah, he's the third cheapest player on the whole slate, and he's definitely more of a like mid 6-7K player maybe. So that's what I like. I feel like Blame F has just super good upside, super cheap, and I think they're overall the better team. Although there's a lot of people who are pretty hesitant on Astralis lately. I still think they're just probably like a step above the Furia roster at the moment. Maybe this is one where I'm going to kick myself for not just going with Keserato and Yuri. That was my initial lean. When I first looked at the slate and the pricing, I thought, man, Furia are probably just going to be slam dunks here. But the more I talked about it and the more I thought about it, I feel like maybe just going to the Blame F side and then calling it a day from this series seems like a pretty decent way to go. So I'll have to talk about it a little bit and figure out where I want to build specifically, as the night goes on. But for now, quick recap. Vitality 2-0, don't necessarily love it, but it seems necessary. Gambit 2-0, I love that spot for them. They're probably my favorite one as a whole, the top 3 Gambit players. Team Liquid phase, I'll buy into the Team Liquid side again. I think this could be pretty close, and I think Team Liquid are cheap. I see this one maybe going 3, but we know that kill shares are pretty condensed on the Nafa Liege, maybe OC. So I'll be on the TL side of that. And then Furia Astralis, I think Astralis should get the job done. I think they win the series. I think they maybe even win 2-0. I just feel like Astralis are the better team. But the pricing on Keserato and Yuri is super tempting. So I'm going to go with Blame F. I'll go with the Astralis side 2-0. Kind of bold there, but I'll go with Blame F to have a good day. And I think Blame F is going to be the pivotal piece that I use for the build. So that's going to be it for me today. I'm not sure how League or CSGO look tomorrow, but if they're decent slates, then I will end up making videos on them. I'm still getting back in the swing of things. I've had an ankle surgery about 5 days ago on the 11th, and it's been kind of kicking my butt a little bit. So that's why no videos and stuff. I've been tweeting out some picks, but it's still not the same when I can kind of put thought and reasoning and explain why I'm on certain sides and that kind of thing. So hopefully you guys managed to get something out of this, and good luck to everyone. I will see you guys when I see you guys.